Back in the fall, we had a chance to run some programs and on fire safety, and I wasn't quite sure on how many kids we were touching. And I mean that from the point of view is how many kids are we actually having some contact with, and are we getting our message across? So initially, the plan was to identify some number. We bought 500 zipper pulls, and we ran a program, and if you attended the program, you get a zipper pull. And now I could look around campus and I knew, I can see all these zipper pulls hanging off people's backpacks. But I also knew that I had bought 500 zipper pulls and 495 had been distributed because I only had 5 left in the box. So now I know at a very basic minimum, I've touched 495 students with a fire safety message. But we took it a step further. We actually had the officers, our safety officers on the security side, they would actually go out a week later. And I would give them an envelope, and in the envelope I'd mark a number on it. And I'd say like 15. And inside would be 2 or 3 gifts. It'd be like a gasoline card or a gift card to a restaurant. Something that the kids really were interested in and could use. And the officers, the safety officers, other than me, because this is a way to get our safety officers introduced to the rest of our students too, they would go out and they'd find the 15th kid with a zipper pull on his back, and they'd hand them this envelope with the prizes in it, and they'd do it in a group. So all of a sudden, we've got somebody getting a prize. The other kids want to know how could they get the prize. So it started to generate some energy and some interest. Yes, we did have a number of events where at every event we gave out a different color zipper pull. The first one was a reflective orange one. We did another event and we gave out the yellow one. So now kids were running around with 2 of them. And I couldn't necessarily get a good count to say, hey, we've touched X number of kids now, because some of those were overlapped. They were the same. But there were also some kids that just had the yellow zipper pull and not the orange one. So I could kind of adjust my accounts. And we gave prizes out if you had the yellow zipper pull. But we also said, well, if you got both of them, it puts you in a different category. And we kind of upped the prizes a little bit. And then we did it a third time. We actually did that, and the third one was a green zipper pull. One of the methods I use to connect with the students when we're talking about fire safety on campus is I try to be accessible to them and visible. I'll get out, I'll ride my bike across campus so I can stop and talk with them and engage them in with a conversation, maybe about something that's happened in the news that's fire safety related, or an event that's taken place that I can draw back to how it affects them at Paul Smith College. Some of the effective strategies that I think schools can use is run an event sponsored by Campus Safety or Campus Fire Safety that doesn't have anything to do with fire safety or even safety in general. It's a great way to interact with the kids and get to know them, and they get to know you, and they get to see you as a real person. We're in a planning stages right now of trying to do an obstacle course sponsored by Campus Safety. That's taken us a little longer than we'd like. But one of the projects I have worked on, which again captured another group of students who kind of I was able to connect and bond with, outside my office is a huge wall. It's 30 foot long and 8 foot tall. And I've partnered with the art club to paint a mural in front of my office. My role, I get all the paint donated, the brushes donated, I supply the kids drinks and fruit, and they do the painting. And they come to that area right in front of my office once a week at the minimum, so I get to interact with them. And again, nothing to do with fire safety, but it is all about connecting and bonding with the students. Running fire drills in the middle of the night is always challenging. But it was something that, by state law in New York, we had to run a fire drill when it's dark. Well, we took it a step further and said, let's run it in the middle of the night. Because that's the challenge to the students. When they're asleep, are they going to hear the alarms? Are they going to be able to get out of the building? Have they already figured out 2 ways out of the building? So we ran them in the middle of the night. It started at 10 minutes past 12 on this kind of chilly, little drizzly night. And the first thing I knew, they were going to complain about being cold. So I dressed in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. And I stood out there and I froze with them and I got wet with them. And it took that right out of the equation. But it also helped to build a little closeness because I wasn't standing there with a jacket on and a raincoat and mittens and stuff. So I could meet with them. But they did complain. They did complain. They complained to the president of the college. They complained to their teachers. They even went on Yik Yak and they complained on Yik Yak. And once they did that, I took that as an opportunity to let's nip that in the bud. That was an opportunity to meet with the kids and explain my point of view. And I did that the following morning. I came back to work early and I purposely walked campus the whole day just to talk with these kids and say, hey, I heard I ticked you off last night with the fire drill. And they go, yeah, sure you did. Yeah, why are you doing that? But it gave me a chance to explain the importance of doing that and how we're there to protect their safety, even if it inconveniences them sometimes. And some of the responses were interesting. Pretty much all of them were like, yeah, we understand. And I even had a few students say, hey, thanks for taking care of us, which I took as a tremendous compliment. You've heard about my body bags on campus. The first year I was at the College for Our Campus Safety Fair was 2013. And I got the idea of putting out body bags based on the number of students who had perished in either on-campus or off-campus fires. I mentioned it, but I didn't distinguish there are students is how I look at it. So I had put these body bags out the first year, and it kind of creeped a few people out, but it got their attention. So I did it again this past 2014, laid out some body bags. We had the deaths from the previous academic year, but we also unfortunately had a couple of deaths early in this academic year. So I had those 6 body bags out there, and we got a lot of attention, and some people complained to the provost that it was upsetting. And that was really my ultimate goal, was to make people aware. And if it triggered some feelings in them, that's what I wanted. I want them to realize this is real life, this is happening, it does happen, and we really need to pay attention to it. A lot of people will say that, well, yeah, Paul, that's a small college. You only have 1,000 students. We may have 10,000 or 15,000 students. So we can't necessarily do some of the things you're doing. And I say, well, you can. You just might not be able to do it on the same scale. You might have to do it from a different angle. For example, we have 1,000 kids, students on campus at any given time, and I don't know them all, and they all don't know me yet. I work at it. We do it. It's kind of like eating the elephant one bite at a time. You take a small chunk. If I win 7 kids over today, and I meet 7 new ones tonight, and tomorrow I can meet another 7, and they've got friends, and before you know it, people know. So for a larger school, one of the things that would possibly work for you folks would be to take one of your officers and say, you know what, today you're walking the campus. We'd like you to hit the dining hall at noontime and just walk between buildings. That's your task today. And stop and say hello to kids. Ask them how they're doing. How's the semester going? How's midterms going? Just engage them. If they have a t-shirt on and it says, it's their favorite baseball team, ask them a question about, or you should know about the statistics. Say, hey, your team's doing pretty good this year. Anything to start a conversation, to open the door. There's a few things that, of what we've done, we can directly correlate to some impact from what we've talked about, the examples that we put forward. For instance, we will have students who will kind of drop a dime on some other students. And we make sure that we don't let anybody know where the information came from. It might be about a violation in their room. Maybe they have a candle in their room. It may be about the drinking party that's going to take place. But students feel comfortable either meeting me and saying, hey, Paul, and they word it in a funny way. They'll say to you, is this a problem? So, so I see a lot of that within. They're not feeling like they're squealing on anybody. They've bought into the safety message. And one thing I tell the students and the staff at every opportunity is your fire safety on campus depends on the person sitting next to you. And I truly believe that. They need to watch out for everybody. So we get some of those things. We've had students bring stuff down to the office and say, you know, can I have this in my room? And we'll tell them yes, no, put it in your car or get it out of here. One of the big things that is working really well that hasn't happened until we actually got this fire safety position, we now have staff who call us ahead of time and say, for example, they wanted to put a printer in the hallway of this one building that was going to be shared by about 8 different people. So they wanted to put it in the hallway so it was easy for everybody to get to. But it was in an exit route. They actually called and asked, can we put it there? And that was like, we're making a difference, that they actually called for us instead of blocking the exit. So there are things like that, sure. I do have a work study now that works for me. He gives me 10 hours of his time, and that's been very beneficial. Because I bounce things off him. I sit in my office and I come up with 100 of the most wonderful ideas every day, and I need to bounce them off people, and who better to bounce it off than the students? And one of the things that really made me open my eyes to the way students receive information, especially with the newer generation coming in, is my work study one day. We were having a conversation and I mentioned something to him and he said, geez, I didn't see it on the calendar. And I go, well, I didn't put it on my calendar. He goes, no, the student activity calendar. And I went, oh. Student Activities puts out a calendar, all different events throughout the semester. And what this young man who's a freshman this year was telling me is he always looks at the calendar. He'll look at that before he checks, you know, anything else, or he goes down and sees some advertisement on the screen in the dining hall, or even emails. He checks his calendar every couple of days. And I go, are you an oddball? He goes, no, that's what we're doing. And I went, oh, I got to. So that was the opening to, maybe they are looking at things a little differently. And when they get 50 text messages a day, did they look at all of them? Maybe not.